everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I consistently attempt to learn about learning from people who teach. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dog Cat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday. Malefactor Monday. Sure, why not? Yes, a new week. The last week of the month in October 2020, guys, ahead of the 2020 presidential election. Oh boy, can you feel the excitement in the air? I know I can. It's almost electric. Or it's just because it's really cold and there's a heater going on. So I guess it is electric. I don't know what I'm saying because it's been a work day. My brain's a little already mumbled. So why not just overexpose it to something even more stimulating, like a TEDXcellence? Well, okay, truth be told, this is not a TEDx, guys. It's not a TEDx. It's not even a TED. It's a TED Ed, as in education. I've done a couple of these in the past, and I'm going to do one today. And who's joining me for this edifice of education? Why, that would be Asian Hippie. Hello. Wade Willison. Hello. Jaeger Pony. Hello. Sorry. Wade Waleson. Hello. Waleson? Okay. Jaeger Pony. Hello. Keenan. Hello. Keeverdam. Hello. That one servant of Satania. Hello. Some Num Nation. Hello. Zalbla. Hello. Check Your Logic. Hello. Brittany Holland. Hello. What's His Face McWhatnot. Hello. Spyro Girl. Hello. Dina B. Hello. Buddy C. Buddy. Hello. And then chat jumped because of course it did. How far back up do I have to go? Zach Osborne, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. Johnny Stoffel, hello. Crimson Tiger, hello. Blitz Zero, hello. Megan Ring, hello. Crazy Man, hello. Green Death, hello. Scanner Daffley, hello. Mike R, hello. Roger Reynolds, hello. Big Assassin 80, hello. Nathaniel Taylor, hello. Mr. Dax, hello. Jonathan Peterson, hello. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. Jake Tungseth, hello. Frosted Glass, hello. A13, hello. Luke Skywalker 2, hello. Dumpster Fire, hello. John Smith, hello. Brutus, hello. Poker Pierce, hello. Is that everybody? Emperor W.R. Costin, hello. All right, everyone. So today's... okay, wait a second. That's not the overlay I wanted. Wait a second. Did I not save it? Okay, I made a mistake, apparently. That's not the overlay I wanted with the title of the show. Did I actually save that somewhere? Or have I just fooled myself now? Maybe I fooled myself. I was under the impression. Nope, I guess I made a mistake. Well, it happens from time to time, guys. That is not the title of the video we're going to be watching. I'm not quite sure how I screwed that up. But the title should actually be A Principal's Guide to Disrupting Inequity. And I am bewildered as to how I messed that up. So I apologize. That is a misnomer on the overlay. But apparently, what did I do? Well, I don't know what I did. Huh. Okay. Technical difficulty number 1 for the show. Well, at least I have an overlay. Might be the wrong one, but either way, guys. I'm just checking real quick to make sure I didn't put that somewhere else or save it in some other file or something. Apparently not. All right, well, rather than delay the show any further, let's get on to the actual video, shall we? So ignore the title up in the corner. That's not what it was supposed to be. And for reference, once again, the title should be A Principal's Guide to Disrupting Inequity. So with that being said, let's begin. Be sure to have your bingo card ready. By the way, the bingo card has been updated. I have reshuffled the card, so be sure to get your fresh copy. Link is in the description. And per usual, I will start off with a few seconds for sound test. This talk comes in at just over 10 minutes, so a relatively short one. Let me know if you can hear this, and then we will begin.
Growing up in inner city Toronto, the 12th of 13 children, to a disabled war veteran and a mother who never finished nursing school, and living in social housing, I look back on the school and the community that I lived in for 19 years And I know that I was really blessed.
That was a lot to take in very quickly. 12th of 13 children in Toronto. Holy cats. All right. Well, that is a family or childhood anecdote. So going over to the bingo card, I'm circling free space. And let's see, childhood or family anecdote. And I don't know, was there anything else he mentioned in that? It was only 17 seconds. I'm going to back up slightly just to make sure I didn't miss any other buzzwords or anything.
Growing up in inner city Toronto,
the
12th of 13 children.
The 12th of 13 children. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle.
To a disabled war veteran and a mother who never finished nursing school.
A disabled war veteran and a mother who never finished nursing school. Okay.
And living in social housing.
Well, yeah, 13 kids.
I look back on the school and the community that I lived in for 19 years, and I know that I was really blessed.
Okay, you were really blessed. Why was that?
Others would see this community as dangerous, too racialized, violent, and filled with drugs and gangs.
Others would see it? Well, was it? I mean, filled with drugs and gangs.
And it was.
Okay, well, all right. It was filled with drugs and gangs. I mean, I guess you were blessed in the fact you had parents who really loved having children.
But to me, it was home, and it taught me so much about life, diversity, and inclusion.
Life, diversity, and inclusion. Okay. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, if you're living amongst 12 other siblings in social housing in Canada in a rough neighborhood with drugs and gangs, I'm sure you learned a lot about diversity and inclusion.
While some would see this as a disadvantage, I realize this as a richness.
Some would see this as a disadvantage. Well, you're not wrong. Some would. How many is some? I don't know, but okay.
Having worked in education for close to 30 years.
Why are you leaning like the camera angle for a Batman villain in the 60s? It's just very odd posture.
My stories will provide you with insight into the ways that you can challenge, disrupt, and disturb those who do not feel and see inclusion as adding value or richness, or even a part of ethical leadership.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Lady Gopher, for the dog cat fox. Big smiley dog cat fox. Those who would, so people who do not agree with your perspective on the world, you mean? And the values of quote unquote diversity and inclusion, which are very friendly buzzwords that don't necessarily mean what you think they mean. But, okay, tell me what I can do to disrupt inequity and disclusion, or whatever else it is.
When we place racialized people at the center of our work, we can alter our programs, our policies, and practices so that all can flourish.
Racialized people at the center of our work so that all can flourish. Because... and I've heard that a lot lately. You guys who've been listening to the last several streams, the word racialized and then whatever comes after that. So in this instance, racialized people are non-white people or white people, because I was told that some people are racialized white about 2 episodes back. So thank you, Bacall, the Driving Ape Man, for this, TED. Treat Toronto like you would Detroit. Well, I wouldn't know how to treat Detroit. How am I supposed to treat Detroit? Oh, but okay. Racialized people in the center of our work because they can't otherwise take care of themselves. I'm getting ready to circle benevolent condescension right there.
Recently at some equity training in our city.
Equity! Uh-oh! Equity! Circling equity on the board. All right.
There was a group of disgruntled principals posing the question, why are we having this training on equity and diversity again? Challenging them, I said, look at this group of principals. You can clearly see that we're navigating in a culture of whiteness.
Look at yourselves. Don't you see that your skin color is just too common and too similar to one another? That's obviously the problem. I am circling self-vilification or wretchedness because he's calling himself part of the problem because of his skin color. Moving on.
It was a sea of white from the front to the back of the...
Oh my God, a sea of white? How dare they? They're all terrible people for being the skin color they are and having gone through the education they did and pursuing the careers that they did. Oh no.
The room.
Yeah.
It was obvious that our hiring practice needs to change.
Your hiring practice needs to change. Okay, so all the school districts represented by all of those principals were all racist and would never hire anybody who wasn't white. That's the accusation. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting this clearly.
We must do better to ensure those who we mentor, encourage, hire, and promote are diverse in race, thought, religious beliefs, ability, and class.
No. You don't get to bring up thought, ability, religion, and class when your first and primary concern is the skin color of the individuals around you. No. You are not talking about diversity of thought. You're not talking about diversity of ability. First and foremost, you're talking about race. You don't get to criticize anyone who is complaining about diversity training by saying the entire room was white and then rail yourself back into, oh, thought and ability and religion and class. No, you don't get to make that move. You've already voided that for yourself. I say I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. That's your own problem. But going back to the bingo card, benevolent condescension, because obviously nobody who isn't white can take care of themselves. They need special help and consideration because obviously they're at an inherent disadvantage for being what they are. And then I think I'm also going to circle mind reading and assumes motives because, he obviously sees that those other principals complaining about it did not see the problem. And the problem obviously being there's too many white people in the room. Boy, oh boy. Quite a journey so far for a minute 30 seconds into this.
The Ontario Human Rights Commission explains that race is a social construct.
Well, if the Ontario Human Rights Commission says it's so, then it must be so. Right, everyone? Race is a social construct. Okay, so then everybody in that room you were with was black or Asian or Native American because they're not really white because they can't be white because white is a race and race is a social construct. So just imagine that everyone in that room is diverse and your problem is solved. Isn't it? Or isn't it?
It advantages some and it disadvantages others. In Ontario, we use the term racialized person instead of the term person of color.
Oh, well, that makes it all better. Bra fucking vo. Wow, you feel proud of yourself? You feel proud of yourself? Switching out words to mean the exact same thing? Golly gee whiz, Batman. That's impressive. Give yourself a gold star right on your forehead.
I have unearned privilege because I was born white.
Oh, privilege! We have privilege on the board. Where's privilege now? Right there in the middle. Oh my gosh. All we need now, guys, is a word salad. Do I have a feeling we're going to hit word salad here by the end of this? I don't know. We are so close. So close.
But because of my lived experience, I bring a lens that does not view things from a middle-class heteronormative stance.
Oh, well, then I guess you're just an enlightened person, better than the rest of us, I guess. Thank you, Johnny Stoffel. In before law-mandated melanin treatments. Yeah. And Assassin the Gray says, racialized people, new buzz phrase. Check Your Logic also says so. You know what? You're not wrong. As a replacement for an already buzz phrase, attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase, circling that one on the board. Oh boy, guys. All right. So our speaker thinks better than the rest of us. Let me back up a little bit to get the fullness of that declaration again.
I have unearned privilege because I was born white.
Yes.
But because of my lived experience, I bring a lens that does not view things from a middle-class heteronormative stance.
Okay, so even though you carry the stain of your skin color, you're an enlightened white person because of your lived experience. So you have unearned privilege because of what you are, but you're a better person than that because of how you've lived. Okay. Got it.
And I have a passion to serve those who've been underserved and marginalized.
Marginalized. Oh boy, marginalized is on the board, guys. Marginalized. All right, circling that on the bingo card. Holy cats. There's some arguments in the chat for word salad already. I'm gonna wait. What he just said a minute ago could count. I'm gonna wait. We're only 2 minutes in. We got 8 more to go, guys.
In this current political climate, when women, trans people, indigenous, and racialized rights are being jeopardized and childhood poverty is on the rise, it's even more important that we speak our truth and lead our authentic lives.
Oh, authentic, one of my favorite words. Lead our authentic lives. Okay, well, I need to know how to do that. I need to know how to introduce these concerns, thoughts, and principles into schools. Because you're a principal, at least that's what the original title of this is. Don't mind the overlay. I'm dying to get to the point where we integrate the educational angle to all of this. And now the police are coming for me because they've heard me criticizing some guy in Toronto. All right.
To work to develop diversity as a richness, a strength.
Yes.
In my current role as a principal and a leader in education, and as a married gay male for almost 25 years, that's 50 in the straight world.
What? What? That's 50 in the straight world? I don't understand what that means. What? I'm backing up slightly because maybe I missed something because he said that really quick.
To develop diversity as a richness, a strength. In my current role as a principal and a leader in education, and as a married gay male for almost 25 years, that's 50 in the straight world.
That's 50 in the straight world. Okay, maybe there's something there that I'm supposed to be laughing at. I don't really get it. Kieverdam says a list. You're right. He did list off a whole bunch of things that apparently are attributes that put him in some kind of enlightened position. So I'm circling a list. Thank you, Kieverdam. Okay, 50 in the straight world. I don't know. Is it more difficult or more strenuous to be married as a gay male than as a straight couple because every year is twice as taxing? Or does time slow down because you're married and gay to where 6 months equals a year? I don't know what that means.
With 2 amazing biracial children, I work to put marginalized people at the center of our programs, our planning, and our policies.
Wow, that's very benevolent of you. Because obviously they can't do any of that for themselves. I've already circled benevolent condescension, so okay, you're a saint among the racialized peoples, I suppose.
Years ago, as a new VP, I wrote on the school calendar, International Day of Anti-Homophobia.
Oh my God! Okay, I swear to God, this guy. If I didn't know this person was real, I would say that someone describing such a person to me would be describing a caricature, a cliche, an amalgam of all the possible memes you can possibly consider for someone who is so far into La La Land on the left that I guess I shouldn't be surprised that such a person exists, at least rhetorically. All the same, I'm a little surprised. Thank you, Just Paul. Will my health plan cover this level of cancer? Klaatu, Verata.
I was called into the principal's office.
And then?
To clarify, what exactly was I trying to do?
You were trying to push a social agenda onto a bunch of kids that was completely unnecessary and unasked for? Maybe?
Well, I was trying to be inclusive.
No, you're trying to put a virtuous litmus test against everybody else, as well as proclaim your own virtue by making a sort of passive accusation that anybody who didn't agree with your declaration was thus homophobic. Right? Like, today is anti-homophobia day. Anybody who says elsewise must be a homophobe. Right? You're either with us or against us, that kind of thing.
And I was challenging the dominant heteronormative structure.
You were vilifying the dominant heteronormative structure. You were calling anybody who didn't agree with you or live your same lifestyle as somehow deficient and morally suspect. Oh, sorry, I'm making guesses about your motivations, intentions, and thoughts. Obviously, you would never do that to anyone else. I apologize. I'm a bad person.
And I was scolded for being too political.
Yeah, I think you might have deserved that.
I was asked, how is this related to our work?
Mm-hmm. That is a very good question. How is that related to your work? Thank you, Shrouded Angel. Today is pro-homophobia day. Well, let's hope not. But either way, what? Okay, so how is this related to your work? Do tell.
I was chastised and reprimanded.
And deservedly so, in my opinion. Why bring your social politics into a place of education where you're supposed to teach kids how to think, not what to think, or to make passive accusations against their moral character, or anyone else's for that matter? Do tell.
When I discussed this with my superintendent of education.
Oh, so you went above the principal. So you bypassed your superior and went over their head. Okay, got it.
The first thing she did was apologize.
Oh, okay, because she was enlightened, right? Okay.
The second thing she did was connect me with a leader of equity in our board, and we developed a friendship, a mentorship, and a connection that has stayed with me to this very day.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a living Hallmark card. I'm so happy for you. Thank you, Mike R. Did you circle make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason? No, I haven't circled it yet. That's the answer to the question. I haven't done it yet because he has put it into context so far. Kind of. If his argument is... No, you're right. Actually, I take it back. I was thinking too hard there for a second. God forbid. Yeah, no, all the people in the room and their skin color, then going after class, etc., etc. Yep, you're right. Good call, Mike R. All right, saving that there. Moving on.
The first time she visited me at my school as a principal, we went on a learning walkthrough.
A learning walkthrough. Okay.
There was a little black girl in grade 3. She was struggling and she was being underserved.
She was struggling and being underserved. Why? Because the teacher was being racist? The teacher was not paying attention to the girl, wasn't giving her equitable attention as to the other students? How is she being underserved?
She was one of a handful of black students at this school. When I entered the classroom and introduced my friend and my mentor, this child asked, "Is she really your friend?" She looked so shocked.
What? What?
When I confirmed this and added that she's also someone who teaches me so much, she smiled. She wanted to hug my friend.
Okay, anecdote that probably never happened. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna that's a no, Bob. That is a no, Bob. No way.
She was also Black.
Oh, well, is she really your friend? So the little girl was racist. Is that it? The little girl had been raised to believe that white and Black people could not get along? Is that what you're telling me? Well, whose fault was that? I wonder if that anecdote is actually true, which I heavily doubt.
It was a revelation to this child that her white principal could have a Black friend and a mentor.
Okay, whose fault is that? If you give some more detail, maybe I'll take back that anecdote that probably never happened. If you actually delve into the possible causes for that little girl to have that belief, I might just on principle, no pun intended, take it back. But otherwise, no.
When we recognize race, we can alter life trajectories. And if we're not actively working to combat racism, then we are being complicit in the perpetuation of racism.
Thank you. This is Kyle. And then everyone clapped. Where's my X button? Yeah. I want to go back a couple seconds and listen to that little statement one more time. Okay.
Friend and a mentor.
Yeah.
When we recognize race,
we
can alter life trajectories.
We can alter life trajectories. What do you mean by recognizing race? You remember the social construct, because there really isn't any such thing as race. It's a social construct. So the little Black girl that you saw in the school, she wasn't actually Black. You're actually imposing that limitation on her, aren't you, by your social construction? Right? Because it is a limitation, because you've already said that, people who are marginalized, underserved, disadvantaged, and so on because of their skin color, which is, a construct that you're imposing upon them because race isn't real. Okay, so when we recognize race, the social construct, the fiction, we can alter life trajectories. Okay, so I've recognized that you're white. I, sitting here, looking at you, recognize that your race is white. How am I altering a trajectory? Yours or mine? Just curious. Thank you, Saxon Ross. When we recognize race, we alter life trajectories. So therefore, I am in this sea of whiteness. So there I am in this sea of whiteness. Yeah. So he was in this room full of other principals, thank you, Saxon Ross, who are all white. He recognized all their whiteness and all their lack of diversity for having not been quite sure why they were there for diversity training again. Whose trajectory did you alter? All right, so you alter life trajectories, and then what was the other part?
And if we're not actively working to combat racism,
and then the sirens go again. Okay, so how are you combating the obviously innocent, and I'm not being facetious when I say that, if the anecdote is even partially true, innocent racial bias or racial paranoia present in that little girl who could not imagine a white person and a Black person being friends? How did you combat that racism? Where did you go to discover the root of that racist belief? And how did you solve it? How did you combat it? I know these are questions that won't get answers, but I ask them all the same.
Then we are being complicit in the perpetuation of racism.
No. If I do not hold any racist beliefs, if I do not assess people on the basis of race, if I do not consider race as a value factor as I interact with other people in life, I'm not a racist, because that's what racism is. It's making race an aspect of assessment and judgment of other people without other evidence. Taking some assumptions, some stereotypes, and applying them to people simply on the basis of their skin color and assessing their value or their intelligence or their worth or whatever else. That's all it is. I am combating racism by not being racist. I don't need to seek out or thought police or try to shame or blame anybody else. Someone being racist, like if someone's walking down the street right now, okay, if I was walking to the store and someone was on their cell phone and they were talking about someone and using the most vile racial epithets you could imagine, I don't care. it does me no harm. It does anyone else no harm unless they decide to take it as such. And that person can proceed throughout their life being as racist as they want. And you know how I combat racism? By not being racist. By being the change I want to see effectively, or just not being that which I don't appreciate. Ta-da! And if by some miracle I act as a role model or an inspiration for somebody else to assess people on their character and not on their skin color, then so be it. But if I don't, I'm not going to waste my time or energy trying to correct someone else's thinking. That's their problem. That's their life. If they were taking some kind of overt physical action on somebody, racist or otherwise, yeah, that'd be a time to intervene. But bad thoughts, well, defeat them with better thoughts, better ideas, more critical thinking, and not critical race theory. I don't know. Just an idea.
My question to you is this.
Oh boy. Okay, I'm ready. A question. Okay, ask me a question.
How might you enter into alliance with those who experience racism and be complicit in the ending of racist practices?
By not being racist. By not assessing people on the basis of their skin color. Neither denigrating or elevating people simply on the basis of their skin color. By being that kind of person, I am fighting against racism. There you go. That's my answer.
Let's improve outcomes for racialized people.
Because racialized people are inherently destined for bad outcomes? Is that the implication? Is that how I am supposed to view quote unquote racialized people? Just a synonym in your world for people of color, which is still a throwback to colored people, which is still divisive and racist in its origins? That's how I'm supposed to see things? Okay.
Some time ago, when I was in a meeting with a teacher, he made negative comments about a racialized mother.
Who made negative comments about a racialized mother. Okay, let's take that statement for a second and break it down slightly. Maybe he'll give more details momentarily. Racialized mother. Okay, so a woman who was not white. Negative comments about her. Were the negative comments racial in nature, or were they simple criticisms? Are racialized people supposed to be indemnified from critique, criticism, or question? Now, tell me, because then it'll make sense. Tell me that this person's criticisms were based on racial stereotypes.
In front of me was a racialized teacher being racist towards a racialized mother.
Was she being racist? You said criticisms. Were the criticisms based on race?
He said, "She's just sitting at home all day, lying on the couch, eating candy." This was so untrue, when in fact, I knew that she was working 2 jobs to support her family.
Is that a racial stereotype you applied to the mother in question of your own volition? Did you categorize those comments as racist-based comments? So, someone who is racialized, i.e. someone who is not white, was criticizing someone else who was not white, and therefore they're racist for having done so. Is that what I am to understand?
Luckily, I had some recent training.
You had some recent training. Oh, okay. What did your training tell you to do in that instance?
I had my sentence ready.
You had your sentence ready. I am dying to know what your brilliant rejoinder was to this racialized person criticizing another racialized person in a way that absolutely does not inherently involve race for being racist. What was your response?
I said, "You need to know, and I thought you should know, that your comment was really offensive and racist."
Oh my God. Oh my God. And how did they take that?
Years later, when our paths crossed again,
Years later. Okay.
he brought up our conversation. He thanked me for challenging him.
Oh, okay.
Do you have your sentence ready to challenge racism when you hear it?
Actually, I've had several sentences ready, and I think I've spouted most of them off so far in this TEDx, or well, TED Ed, technically. Yeah. Someone who focuses inordinately on race is probably a racist. Someone who looks at a room full of people and assesses them as not diverse because of their skin color, probably a racist. Yeah. So there's a couple of sentences for you. How does that sound?
Let's acknowledge the complexity of race, culture, and language.
Why? Race is a social construct. It's made up. It's fictional. There's no complexity there. It's figment of imagination, right? Or did I mishear you earlier? Okay, you know what? Let's see. Where are we? Contradicts on point or argument. Race is a social construct, but let me tell you how important race is to everything and everyone, etc. So circling that one. Thank you, Picala Driving 8-Man. Correction, Toronto is the San Francisco of Canada. If you say so. I don't know how to assess these things. You're far more world traveled than I am, Pincalo, because of your military background. I am a very cloistered and bubbled individual, so I'll take your word for it. I appreciate it. Okay. Halfway through this, guys. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow. Right, Dog Cat Fox? Wowie, wow, wow. That's right. Dog Cat Fox says wowie, wow, wow.
When we realize that the lived experience and life trajectory of racialized people are impacted by race, then we may be able to join into community to try to improve outcomes.
Okay. If it wasn't valid before, it's certainly valid now. I'm circling word salad. And with that, well, I almost hate to say it, but...
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
Yeah, our first bingo, guys, on the N column, or the DN column on the TEDx bingo card. We have our first bingo. So let me back up slightly because I want to hear that just one more time.
Culture and language. When we realize that the lived experience and life trajectory of racialized people are impacted by race.
When we realize the life trajectory of racialized people is impacted by race, who is racializing these people? I know it's a stupid question, but when you decide to classify whole giant demographics under the rubric of racialized people, I'm sorry, who is applying race to people first and foremost, might I ask? And so if there is damage done by applying or categorizing people first and foremost on their race, calling them racialized as though something's been done to them with some magical beam from Mars or something, who's doing the damage again?
Then we may be able to join into community to try to improve outcomes.
Okay, how? What is the steps? What is the process here? What is your role as a principal supposed to mean to this end? Tell us what you do on a regular day at your school, aside from announcing today is Anti-Homophobia Day. Aside from things like that, what do you do to affect change in your institution? You're supposed to be speaking as a principal. What do you do?
Not as a savior or someone who's going to fix it all.
But you have all but categorized yourself as a savior and a fixer. You challenged your own principal, went above his head to the superintendent because you're the savior, you're the fixer, because you have the right way of thinking about how to treat people based on race. What are you talking about, dude? You spent 5 minutes telling us you're a savior, that you have an enlightened perspective compared to the rest of the obviously privileged and advantaged white people that you are among, but not technically a member of. Come on.
But somebody who works in community for positive outcomes. What does your leadership team look like? Who do you mentor? Is your leadership team fixed or fluid?
Is my leadership team correctly skin colored? Is that the question? I have to assume that's the question because that's all you've been focusing on this entire talk. By the way, remember back a few minutes ago when you tried to save yourself a little bit from sounding like an absolute racist by bringing up ability and class and what was the other stuff? Religion and so on. And thought. Remember? Yeah, diversity of thought. Why haven't you revisited those subjects? Why was that just an offhanded list you made? If you're talking about diversity across the board, why do we keep focusing on race? I can't imagine why that is. Well, I can, but I'd be assuming.
Do you lead in an autocratic manner, or do you allow for the voice of others?
Depends on the situation and the task at hand. Leadership styles depend on the goals involved, or maybe you're not aware of that fact. I don't know. Also depends on the institution, the chain of command, on and on and on. So you want to get more specific? I doubt it.
Who gets hired to your organizations?
Well, obviously only the appropriate skin colors. Right? Which is the accusation you made against every school district represented by every principal in that room you were talking about earlier? Or am I supposed to filter my hiring decisions on the basis of race? Now, admittedly, I am not as familiar with Canadian hiring and employment laws as I am with US laws, but I have a feeling that discriminating hiring on the basis of race might still be a problem in Canada. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Maybe employers can decide who to hire on the basis of race all the time. Or maybe by law, they're required to hire certain people on the basis of race, which of course does not engender any kind of suspicion about the ability of someone being hired or why they were hired. No, not at all. But I don't know. What am I supposed to do? How do you hire in your school? You're a principal. Presumably you are responsible in some level for hiring practices and approvals and such. So what filters do you put in place when hiring people at your school?
Recently, while interviewing a racialized candidate, I noticed my colleague scoring him much lower than I thought he deserved.
Much lower than you thought he deserved. So your colleague was racist because the person at question was racialized, as you say. So did you assume racism was fueling those criticisms? Do you not recognize the possibility of your own unconscious bias in perhaps elevating that person's scores because of their skin color? Is that not a possibility? Are you not willing to admit to the possibility of your own unconscious bias? Or conscious bias. Thank you, Bacala Driving 8 Man. Nope, the laws are exactly the same. Well, then I'll try to keep that in mind for any future videos that involve Canadian employment or anything else. But I wasn't sure, I don't know. But okay, your colleague was scoring this person lower. The person just being racialized, as you say, or not white, as more honest people would say. But okay. And then what was your conclusion?
I challenged the scores that she gave him. I asked her to check her white privilege.
Your thoughts and opinions obviously are not legitimate. Your way of thinking is obviously fueled by racism. Obviously. You disagree with me, you must be a racist. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow. Right, Dog Cat Fox? Wowie, wow, wow. I know. So even Dog Cat Fox is like, wowie, wow, wow. All right, so your colleague, I'm assuming white colleague, had a different assessment of this person than you did. You decided to interpret that differing assessment as being racist in its inspiration. So you decided to vilify your colleague because they disagreed with you. And obviously, your perspective is correct and theirs is racist. I'm circling unconscious bias because even though he hasn't said the phrase himself, he is demonstrating it by his own confession.
She got so offended with me, she said, listen, my parents are immigrants and I'm a member of a persecuted religious group. How dare I ask her to check her privilege?
Yeah. I mean, if I was that person, I wouldn't even have come up with that defense of trying to explain myself. I would have just put the question to him, prove it. That's what I would have said. Prove it. It's not my responsibility to prove a negative to you. I'm acting on my quote unquote white privilege. I'm being racist in what I'm thinking and doing. Prove it.
I acknowledge this, but then I repeated, why are your scores so much lower than mine?
Because we have different interpretations of quality. Because we have a different opinion from one another. Can you accept the possibility that two people can have a different, completely, even diametrically opposed opinion from one another, and that the difference between yours and theirs is not filled with racism? Can you accept that possibility? Or do you look for racism everywhere and, surprisingly enough, consistently find it?
This candidate hit every required look for and then some.
According to you.
We sat in awkward silence for some time.
Yeah, and who caused that awkward silence? Not asking her to... what? You know what a reasonable person would have done? You would have gone over your various assessments of things and asked, well, how did you reach that? Or what was your reason for thinking that? Or what about them led you to that conclusion? You know, being a rational, reasonable person, extending the benefit of the doubt to someone else that they can have a differing opinion without being a villain, or not having like the character of scum underneath the scum at the bottom of the barrel. You know, like an adult, like something that isn't a zealot. No. But you first went to check your white privilege. What an absolute mixed bag of nuts this guy is.
I followed this up with a message to my superintendent.
Well, you ran to the superintendent again? You're the principal of the school. I mean, I'm assuming that is the dynamic here. You said you were a principal. You were interviewing somebody for a job. You had a colleague there. I don't know who they were. But instead of just dealing with it yourself, you ran to your superintendent again, your ally, the black lady who was your friend, which was a complete mystery to the third grader. Okay, so you ran crying to your superintendent, and then what?
To ensure that this teacher was offered the position that they deserve.
Oh, okay. So you nullified your colleague's opinion and input because it did not align with your opinion, which you vilified as obviously racist because the person being interviewed was not white. So obviously any criticism coming their way or any doubt about their ability obviously had to be fueled by racism. And so you ran to your superintendent to supersede the two-man rule or whatever you were doing in your hiring practice to make sure this person was hired, nullified, vilified your colleague's opinion. Good job. Wow, what a hero this guy is. Holy cow, guys. What a hero. He is rooting out racism everywhere he finds it. Golly gee whiz. What a hero. Thank you, Frosted Glass. Diversity of thought, discount Mr. Garrison. I know, right? Diversity of thought, having a differing opinion. How dare you, you racist? Wow. This guy is an absolute treasure. He is an absolute treasure. With every sentence, he is proving himself to be an intolerant witch finder. This is amazing.
Data can be a powerful tool to highlight the inequities in schools.
No. Don't go running to statistics now. No. You already brought up a very telling anecdotal story about how your own mind works and your own procedure. If you don't get something the way you want it to be, you run to your superintendent and go over the heads of everybody so you can get your way and be the good person. No. Anything you say after this in no way, shape, or form diminishes your tattletale, schoolyard, childish perspective on the world and other people. It's amazing. It really is. You're a principal of a school. Wow.
Let's use traditional and non-traditional forms of data in both traditional and non-traditional ways.
What does that mean? What is a non-traditional form of data? Tell me what a non-traditional form of data is. Are you talking about like tea leaves? Are you talking about like water divination? What are you talking about?
Let's look for the narratives, the histories, and physical evidence that are both qualitative and quantitative. Does how you analyze multiple data sets disrupt or perpetuate current inequities in your school?
What the hell are you talking about? Oh my God. I don't know. I don't know how the data that I have synergized to my paradigm has assessed or devalued the inequity factor in the quantitative estimate of my school. What is even going on now?
Are you seeing the faces behind the data? And
the faces behind the data? Wait. You went from anecdotal evidence where you could actually say, I talked to this person, and now you're saying, look at the faces behind the data. The data isn't about faces. The data is about statistics, estimates, and so on. It's not about faces. It's about quantifiable outcomes of something. What are you talking about? Are you talking about making assumptions about things based on? I don't know. I think I've completely lost the plot here.
And altering predetermined destinies?
Okay, let's back up a little bit. I just want to predetermined destinies. Are you saying that racialized people are just doomed to failure because they are quote unquote racialized? Thank you, Saxon Ross. Mr. Scribe, ahead inequity factor 5, engage. Yeah. To boldly go.
Inequities in your school.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the faces behind the data?
I don't know.
And altering predetermined destinies?
Predetermined destinies. Am I seeing the faces behind the data and altering predetermined destinies? If it's a predetermined destiny, how could I alter it? If it's a destiny, how can I alter it? What are you talking about? What? Oh my God.
What are your next steps?
I don't even know what my first steps are. You need to tell me. You're the principal. I'm the hypothetical principle? What's my first steps before my next steps? I don't even know.
And one of the schools that I worked at, which happened to be the most racially diverse community in Canada.
Really? The most racially diverse community in Canada. Okay.
We looked at the data and it told us that racialized dads were not feeling welcome in the school.
Racialized dads. So non-white male parents did not feel welcome in the school. Okay.
They were not true partners in their child's learning.
Whose fault is that?
So we established a Dads and Significant Others Club.
A Dads and Significant Others Club. Dads and Significant Others Club. I'm just trying to piece out if it spells something funny. It doesn't, so.
And we brought dads into the school.
Wow, okay.
Together, we ran events like Family Math Night, Games Night, literacy events to show that these fathers valued school and they cared deeply about what their children were learning.
Who are you showing this to? Shouldn't the dads have taken it upon themselves to get involved in their child's education at home to begin with? Why do they need to attend events at school? Not that I'm saying it's bad to attend events at school, but what?
I will never know the intricacies of being Black, First Nations, or trans.
Sure, you never will.
But I can listen to learn, care deeply, recognize lived experience, and then think about my actions and next steps.
Like running to the superintendent when you don't get your way? Throwing a tantrum and running off to mommy every time that somebody says something you don't like? I mean, that's effectively what you're doing.
I can learn to deepen my understanding as someone who has potentially caused harm in the past and is now attempting to right past wrongs.
What harm did you cause? Potentially? What do you mean potentially? What did you do? What are you making up for? What penance are you serving here?
Let's be cautious of whose voice is both first and last.
Well, obviously your colleague's was last because they had a differing opinion from yours. And she was also white, apparently, so, yeah.
And work in collaboration and consultation with affinity groups.
What, did you say infinity groups or affinity groups? Because if it's infinity groups, I'm assuming Thanos is somewhere at the tail of that. If it's affinity groups, tell me more about the affinity groups you work with.
Let's recognize the multiple identities. Race can intersect with gender, ability, sexual orientation, class, and a myriad of other identities that
Intersectionality. Yay! And also race is an identity. Yay!
are both fixed and fluid.
Is race fluid? Because I heard it was a social construct.
These identities are at the essence of who we are.
No, they are not. Race says nothing about who you are. Orientation says nothing about who you are. Religion says nothing about who you are. Class says nothing about who you are. Gender says nothing about who you are. A white, bearded carpenter who is heterosexual. Am I talking about Jesus Christ? Or am I talking about serial killer Israel Keys? None of those things are determinative factors of someone's character, actions, or who they are. Stop it. Just stop it. Thank you, John Miller. Oh, the stupid. It hurts so much. I agree. I completely agree.
How might you use this privilege in service of those who are not?
Oh, well, obviously I'm going to vilify and demonize my white colleagues for disagreeing with me because obviously they're racist because they're white and have white privilege. And then I'm going to run to my racialized female superintendent to overstep the process of hiring to get the person hired to make sure that I look like the savior and my colleague looks like the white devil. That's how I'd use my privilege. What about you? Thank you, Johnny Stoffel. Ray says something about needed SPF for sunscreen. Possibly so. And that's probably up there with the most valuable consideration to make about it. But even then, that doesn't say anything about who they are. Assassin the Gray, mind reading assumes motivations. I've already circled that one. So we're already good there. Okay, we got another 2 minutes on this. I'm sure there are plenty of really good arguments for other squares, but we'll get there momentarily or in a few minutes.
Let's question the white colonial Judeo-Christian middle class heteronormative structures that are shared and repeatedly positioned as the only and often right way.
So anyone who either reflects or possesses or expounds upon any of those things is inherently suspect because all of those things are inherently negative or evil or racist, obviously in the context of this conversation. So anyone who's white, straight, you talk a lot about racism. I think you need to do a little bit of introspection on just the notion of hatred. Hatred. I'm getting a lot of vibes, let's say, of a out and out distaste and hatred for certain people who possess certain attributes or reflect certain cultural whatever, I don't know what you're going to call them, in you. You seem to be a very powerful font of hatred and intolerance. And yet I think that you move through the world believing that your particular hatreds and intolerances are actually virtues. They're actually justified. And that you are a better person for possessing them than if you didn't. I think you make assumptions about people's character based on no evidence other than what you see or a contrary opinion. And that has nothing to do with race. You could be any particular skin tone you can imagine. And if you possess those personal characteristics, I would question your credibility on saying that you are a tolerant person or a not racist person. Because some things transcend the surface level. Thank you, Sir Adamantine. He has the voice of a weasel. Well, maybe so. Whatever his voice or his intonation, his attitude, his beliefs, and his proclamations say more than his pitch.
A few years ago, while presenting at a local university, a young lady wheeled over to me and said,
Wheeled over to you. Okay, got it.
I've always wanted to be a teacher.
Uh-huh.
Do you think I could be a teacher?
Uh-huh.
She had minimal use of her hands, and she used a motorized chair to move around.
Okay. And I don't know, Stephen Hawking. I mean, might sound a little easy cliche to jump to in my imagination, but that's what I think of. So I don't think there's anything stopping her from becoming a teacher inherently. Thank you, Andrew Joyner, for the... I've never seen that before. It's the Hollywood glasses looking over at me, hair in the bun lady. That's a long title. But thank you. Okay, back to the girl in the wheelchair. And
I said I thought she'd be a great teacher if that was her passion.
Sure. Okay.
She assured me it was.
Okay. Well, Best of luck to her in pursuing it.
And soon she became a volunteer at our school.
Okay.
She was dedicated, caring, eager to learn. She loved the kids, and the kids loved her.
Great. Fine. And?
That year, she was accepted into Teachers College.
Okay.
I recently watched her teach an awesome math lesson.
Uh-huh.
I will act as a reference for her to gain full-time employment.
Okay. And if you're noticing or sensing a kind of ambivalence in my voice, it's because nothing about what he's describing seems at all remarkable to me. I mean, it's neither overly impressive or underwhelming. It's someone who decided that they wanted to pursue a thing and they succeeded at it. The wheelchair is irrelevant. Her physical limitations are irrelevant. And good for her for having done so. I'm curious to know what his point is to this anecdote.
Let's ask ourselves this question.
Okay.
In all of our actions,
Yes.
Are we creating equitable and inclusive outcomes?
Someone put in the time and the effort and showed that they had merit towards a career or a position, and in response to that, you provided a recommendation for them. You supported their efforts because they put the time, the work, and the passion into it. Their physical disability is irrelevant. Their skin color is irrelevant. Their gender is irrelevant. Their orientation is irrelevant. They took the individual responsibility and initiative to achieve a goal, and you affirmed that with your professional endorsement. Good, fine, good, great. What does that have to do with anything? Why didn't you bring up her race? Everything about this for the last 9 minutes has been about race. Why didn't you bring up her race? I mean, I don't care, but you obviously do. And that story is about as benign as you can imagine. And it has nothing to do with anything else you've mentioned to this point. Why not? I'm going to circle weightless example here in a second because I don't understand what that had to do with anything you've talked about to this point.
I'm so excited that we are embarking upon an Indigenous and racialized leadership mentoring program.
Because Indigenous and racialized people need the help because they are what they are? Is that the implication?
As a starting point to combat racism.
As a starting point to combat racism, we are going to dedicate special attention and services and assistance to people on the basis of race. Got it.
And we will include these leaders in real leadership opportunities.
Was that girl in the wheelchair white? Was she Indigenous? Was she racialized? You didn't bring it up. If she was white, is she less deserving of attention than somebody who wasn't? I'm circling weightless example because as completely benign and fine as an example or a story as that girl in the wheelchair was, it absolutely has nothing to do with anything he's spoken of to this point.
Let's work to disrupt disparities for racialized people that will in turn bring a wealth of richness into your school and your school communities.
Let us focus inordinately on the skin color of students and other people and assess their value, their thoughts, their motivations on the basis of same. Got it.
I'm so grateful for the community that I grew up in because it's helped shape me into the person I am today.
I don't think that is an endorsement you want to make. But then I'm not sure you can see outside of yourself for 5 seconds. So maybe it's a pointless exercise.
A person who challenges the inequities that exist for racialized and underserved people. A person who strives to always have their sentence ready.
Don't break your arm patting yourself on the back there, boyo.
Do you have your sentence ready?
Yeah. You are a virtue signaling racist and bigot. In this 10-minute presentation, in your own anecdotes, in your own declarations, you have proven yourself to be a racist and a bigot and a coward, running off to your superintendent without dealing with your own problems yourself. In the universe that is this single presentation, that is my assessment of you. On the basis of no other evidence than your own words. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I had not watched the video of this, if I had only the audio file, I would have still come to those same conclusions. Because your skin color says nothing about the content of your character. Rather, your words and your actions. And by your own words and your relayed actions, that is my assessment. So there you go. All right, everyone, going to the bingo card. Let me update it real quick so everybody can see where I am at on the wonderful bingo card. If I sound a little perturbed, it's because I am. This individual did not impress me and certainly did not encourage me as someone who apparently is a principal of a school. There's where I'm at. Does it show up on the overlay okay? Yes, okay. So the squares still not circled. Let's review those. Takes credit for something done expressed by others in their demographic. I don't believe he ever did that. Systemic institutional. I could be convinced to stretch into what he said about certain things as commenting on systems and institutions, especially school systems and such. How do we hire? And so, you know what? I'm going to circle that one because he was talking about the systems of hiring practices and so on. And he talked about school districts and the whiteness in that room in the beginning. Toxic, he never said toxic. Plays victim. I never heard him play victim. He played savior all over the place, but victim, no. Patriarchy, he never dwelled too much on gender. He listed off different things, but he never dwelled on it. Wage gap, no. Feminism, no. White supremacy, yes. If there was ever an in aggregate assessment of someone's rhetoric, white supremacy and talking about white privilege and this, that, and the other, and the inherent victimization of anyone who wasn't white. And so with that...
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
We have a double bingo. Let's continue. Leaves out vital context. Leaves out vital context. If I was very nitpicky, I would say he never brought up the race of the lady in the wheelchair. But then I already marked that as a weightless example, so it's difficult for me to then double up on that with leaves out vital context, especially since it'll mean a triple bingo. So if I am to get to leaves out vital context, guys, you're going to have to argue it to me very, very effectively. So far as I can tell, that's the only other possible bingo we can get out of this card right now, save for toxic. And you're not going to convince me for toxic because he didn't say the word, never came up. As much as this was cancer, toxic doesn't apply. So your only bet here, as far as I can see, is leaves out vital context. So if you have a good argument for that, I'm willing to take it. Let me go to chat now and see what you guys have to say. Ost and, didn't he leave out vital context in the story about the teacher grading the student, as in we don't know the quality of the student's work? I don't believe it was a story about grading the student. It was about grading the person applying for the job. But it's the quality of the work or the quality of the person is irrelevant because he just assessed her answers and opinions as inherently wrong and racist. So that's the context we have. All I know is that his context or his answers did not mesh with hers. The end. That's really all the context I need. So that doesn't quite fly. Pincalo, arguments in context. He left out any examples of what schools or what grades are, what level would schooling and education, any of this happens in. I could be convinced that given the purported title of this, and again, please do ignore whatever mistake I made in the overlay. That's not the title of the presentation. The actual title for reference should be A Principal's Guide to Disrupting Inequity. I might almost take it as he didn't really give a whole lot of specific advice to exactly how to fight inequity in a school as a principal. Let me take some more arguments. Frosted Glass. He played victim when he said gay marriage was worth double the years of straight marriage. I see. Okay. I'm willing to entertain that. I just don't know what he meant by that. Okay, I'm dumb. I'm obviously very dumb. I don't get what that was supposed to be saying. What does that mean? Is that a victimization thing? Is that complaining about like stress in a marriage? Honestly, I swear to God, I'm not being facetious. I didn't get the joke. I'll be the first to admit I did not get the joke. So if someone can put that into more context for me, maybe. Lexi Mads, I just got here. All vital context is missing. Circle it, please. Sorry, Lexi. Appreciate the effort. Doesn't count. Let's see. Mark Panicki. He never explained how the little girl or any of the black kids in school were being underserved, except to say there weren't many of them. Oh. That is true. That is very true. Okay, I'm teetering towards a yes on that one, but chat, and you know how I am about the bingo card. It is sacred. So in your most pragmatic, objective perspective, does Mark have a point? Okay, I'm not going to make that decision on my own. Does Mark's argument tilt the scale towards a bingo on that argument? All right, put your comments in the chat. I'll continue going down. Rick Ashberg, he never gave an example of the criticism of the hiring. True, but the fact that his first reaction was you're exercising your white privilege told me that no matter what she had said, if anything was not in alignment with him, it was wrong. And that's really all the context I needed for that portion. So, let's see. Some emulation. The fact that his whole worldview is skewed so badly indicates that by default he leaves out vital context. Possibly, but I'm trying to stay as much as possible within the confines of the actual talk. Okay. Check your logic. Does Mark have a point about what? Well, let me read Mark's argument again one more time. He never explained how the little girl or any of the black kids in school were being underserved, except to say there weren't many of them. So that was Mark's argument. He never explained what underserved was. Thank you, Mr. E, or just Mr. E, I guess. Sorry. The joke was stupid, Scribelight. The bottom line, though, is that gays have it harder. Okay, maybe. Let's see. Yes, yep, I agree with that. Mr. E, is vital context to us, the listener. I don't care if he thinks it is irrelevant. I can see that. All right, guys. I think Mark has a point, says some Namnyon Nation. All right. You know what? You've convinced me. It wasn't just a line item on my own part. And I agree with that. So with that, guys, we have hit.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
Triple bingo. And then as far as the plays victim thing, I get what you guys are saying. I guess from context clues, I could say that is so. And given the fact that it's not going to equal another bingo, I'm fine with circling it. just for the sake of completion, because I think that's about as far as we're going to go today. So there you go, guys. Plays victim for that bizarre joke. But there you are, guys. Save for 5 squares on the board. We had every square circled, but only 3 bingos. Let me just verify that with my little tools here. We had 1, and the lines might not be 100% straight. 2 and 3. And I'm going to save that, update that. So there we go, guys. A triple bingo, which now that I look at it, looks a little bit satanic in its configuration, but I just feel like I've been a little exposed to evil in this one to a certain extent. So what are you going to do? But everyone, that is going to wrap it up for today. That was something else. That guy is quite a specimen. Johnny Stolpa says, "You sound beaten down, Scribelight." Oh, I think I am to a certain degree. But, well, we learned something. We learned at least a lot about this individual. I don't know that we learned a lot about education. I don't know that we learned a lot about being a principal or how to, quote unquote, defeat inequity in a school as a principal, given our principals, but something to watch out for. Rhetoric to be aware of, whether you're here, there, or in Canada. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me today, as the pepper jack makes my tongue stumble bum over itself. Thank you all for your attendance. Thank you so much for your participation, especially in your argumentation. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or the Ranting Monkey, you can find all 3 of us tonight on Satsu 2 Cents' channel for Lords of the Night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Again, everyone, thank you for coming and joining me for this. I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. Have a good rest of your Monday, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.